All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Rebecca Harbage. I'm the chair of the City of Helena Zoning Commission. Thank you for attending our commission hearing tonight. We do have one item for hearing tonight. So we'll start with calling this meeting to order, and then April, will you please do a roll call for us?
Sure, Chair. Chair Harbage.
Here.
Vice Chair Wilson. Ms. Anderson. Ms. Sorensen.
Here.
Ms. Story.
Here.
All 5 commissioners are present.
Thank you very much, April. Next up on the agenda, we have approval of our May 14th minutes. And I want to note that I did review the minutes and it looks like there was a glitch in posting a complete version. So it sounds like April's going to work on that for us and we'll look at the minutes from last month, next month. So we'll skip past that agenda item for tonight and move on to regular items. Item A is a public hearing. And this is a hearing to make a recommendation on an ordinance revising the regulation of signs by amending Chapter 23 of Title 11 of the Helena City Code. And at this point, we will walk through our standard agenda. So for agenda items, we start with a staff presentation, invite commissioners to ask questions of staff if they have any. In this case, there is no applicant to come forward and present. So we would then move on to the public portion of the hearing and invite public comments on this hearing item. After hearing public comments, we will move on to any final questions or considerations and then call for a motion, second, further discussion, followed by a vote. So I'll turn it over to you, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Harbage and commissioners. So I am Michael Alvarez. I'm a planner with the Community Development Department with the City of Helena. And my item tonight is an ordinance revising the regulation of signs by amending Chapter 23 of Title 11 of the Helena City Code. So just to run through this presentation, first it's going to be a brief overview on the authority to establish, regulate, and make changes to the city signs code, an overview of the current state of sign regulations and significant changes, and then we will get to the material changes from the last work session. There's just 2 of note. So our authority to regulate signs comes from the Montana Code Annotated, section Title 7, 214206, control of erection of signs and awnings. The city or town council has power to regulate the putting up of signs and awnings. Our power to regulate outdoor advertising comes from 75-15-104. More restrictive regulations preserved. Nothing in this part shall be construed to abrogate, which is a great word, or affect the provisions of any lawful ordinance, regulation, or resolution, which is more restrictive than the provisions of this part. Tonight, the Zoning Commission will vote for, against, or to table a recommendation to the City Commission that amends Chapter 23 of Title 11 of the Helena City Code by repealing Chapter 23's general sign regulations in its entirety and adopting this new Chapter 23 sign regulations in lieu thereof. I do want to note I have motion language that better matches this, which is a little bit more specific. So it will match how it was advertised, but it is slightly more specific by referencing the repeal and replace when we get to that slide at the end. The current state of the sign code poses several issues for the city. Specifically, the Reed versus Town of Gilbert decision requires that the sign code be written content neutral, and elements of the current code are not content neutral. The code handles wall signage on larger buildings in a way that generates frequent applications for variances. The code is difficult to read. It can be non-obvious what sections pertain to a given sign. The code has outdated references to zone types and administrative areas no longer in use. And the code hasn't been updated comprehensively since 1997 and may not reflect the current goals and objectives of the city as stated in the growth policy. I actually do want to pause here because I forgot something. Did you get the public comment? Did everybody get the public comment? Yes, great. Okay, thank you. So problem solved by the new code, improving clarity in signage regulation, increased conformance with recent legal rulings, and ensuring that the current needs of the community are being met. So the new sign ordinance introduces easy to understand tables for permitted and unpermitted sign types and faces by district. I'll pause here for those online. We'll take a look. The new sign ordinance introduces simple design guidelines by sign type. And the new sign ordinance has eliminated references to administrative areas no longer in use or in conflict with other areas of the code. For instance, this passage gives the Board of Adjustments power they aren't granted elsewhere and refers to the NC, B3, and urban renewal districts. Urban renewal having been a zoning district, not just an urban renewal district that we still have. Which are all either defunct or out of use. The new code does reference B3 in places as it is still a zone type on the books, if not on the map. But if, for instance, a developer were to ask to bring back B3 somewhere, city planning staff would need to sort of reevaluate that zone type in its entirety at this point. Increasing conformance with recent legal rulings. This whole thing has been rewritten with content neutrality in mind, and that is embodied in the intent statement. So throughout this year-long process, and specifically in a presentation made in May of 2023, city staff discussed some of the challenges municipalities face in regulating signs post Reed versus Town of Gilbert decision with the Zoning Commission. One of the key changes to go into structural changes to how we're going to regulate signs in the new code. One of the key changes being made to the sign standards is that signs will scale with building facades in most commercial districts. Moving forward, under the proposed code, architects and designers will be allowed to scale signage up to 15% of each facade. The proposed code further builds on offering flexibility to businesses by introducing a planned sign program provision that allows for coordinating signage size on larger multi-building developments. And my apologies, I do have that condition language again built into that last slide, to change that from 8 to 15. Compliance with the growth policy, goal 1, promote and sustain Helena's economic vitality, supporting existing businesses and attracting a diverse range of economic sectors that provide employment opportunities. Goal 10, plan for establish types and quantities of land uses in Helena supporting community needs, neighborhood centers, aesthetics, and the city's long-term sustainability. Basically means that is a call to action to consistently review our zoning. The city of Helena seeks to promote business while embracing the uniqueness and natural beauty of Helena's setting. I think if we get that balancing act right, then we will find the code supports the community needs and aesthetics. I'm not going to read each of these out in their entirety, but also in line with this code rewrite is objectives 69, objectives 76, and objectives 85 in the growth policy. Leave that for a moment for those reading along. One large new section is how we're going to be regulating billboards. The proposed sign code will bring the business of billboards into alignment with the rest of the business community by requiring that billboards operated in the city limits obtain business permits. Currently, all businesses operating in the city of Helena must license each location where their business is conducted, but billboard locations have historically been left out of that accounting. The billboard business permits allow the city to control the number and type of billboard faces in the community. So this is the backbone of our cap and replace program. This is the cap and replace program. The fee associated with this program is paid to the general fund, but the amount is intended to help cover the cost of running the program because the planning division is funded out of the general fund. Another key new element here, which is poorly handled by the current code, is the new electronic message display standards. The proposed sign code will implement new lighting standards. Electronic message displays must have ambient light monitors that automatically adjust their brightness and shall not exceed 0.3 foot candles above ambient light when measured according to Table 4, currently not well regulated, basically at all. Scrolling, traveling, or flashing images will not be permitted. An on-premise sign may only change the entire static image once every 2 seconds, and a digital billboard once every 7.5 seconds. So here are the material changes from the last work session. I've already mentioned the wall signage, which is an oversight, and have that language 8% to 15% is, and 15% is what we had agreed upon at that work session. And temporary signage has been reworked, and this one is a little bit long-winded. The temporary signage code in residential areas was based on the assumption the sign code couldn't apply to political signs and that the city would be reliant on state law for them. Because of election season, I think we sort of reanalyzed this once again. And we've found that our temporary sign code can apply to any sign erected, including political signs. The key Supreme Court ruling on this is City of Laud versus Galeo, Margaret P. Galeo. And they tried to remove all temporary signs and weren't allowed to do that. So the issue created, with that ruling in mind, the issue created by the previous version of the temporary sign code is that political yard signs, which are typically in 2 standard sizes, 2 square feet and 3 square feet, if we were to apply that overall cap to a yard to political signs, a resident could end up over the signage limit by placing or supporting too many individual candidates or causes. And that would put the city in the awkward situation of restricting free speech. So we'd rather just regulate the overall maximum size of the signs that are allowed, as opposed to of each individual sign, as opposed to trying to do it in aggregate for the residential homes. After this vote, this ordinance will be heard by the City Commission July 15th. And here is the updated recommended motion language. Again, it's still a vote on an ordinance revising the regulation of signs by amending Chapter 23 of Title 11. It just more specifically highlights the repealing and replacing of Chapter 23 and the added condition language. We can bring this back up at the end for you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any questions for staff from the commission? Go ahead.
Michael, just a question on the last thing about the political signs. So my understanding is the 3-foot sign down there is typical. That's what most of the pop-in yard signs are. And are you saying with this new change, people can put as many of those as they want in their yard? It's just going to be a restriction per size?
Correct. It would just be an exempt size, exempt, and it would actually be exempt up to the 6 square foot sign and you know, if you wanted to wordsmith it so this one is more typical of a large home for sale sign or something like that. If you wanted to restrict to one of those and then, you know, exempt all 3 square foot signs or something like that, that would probably work as well. I didn't want to get too creative. I already thought this was going to upset the commission. So
that answers my question. Thanks.
Sure.
I have a follow-up question. And can you just remind me, we didn't specify the length of time that temporary signs may be up, is that correct?
True. So political signs, their length of time is regulated by the state. We don't have an independent regulation of signs. I remember conversations that we had about this, about, you know, what if it takes a house longer than 180 days to sell or something like that. Generally, I think if somebody is using temporary signage for, say, like a home business or something like that, through the regulation of that home business, we can establish that they're using that as a permanent sign or something like that. As far as taking down a political speech or something like that, I don't know that putting a time limit on it is something we can really do.
Thank you. That answers my question. I was more just curious, did we assign a timeline or not? And it sounds like we did not.
We did not.
Thank you.
I have another follow-up question. Outside of residential area, political signs and for sale signs, and maybe I'm just not remembering the specifics. Would this mean that a business could put up 10 we're hiring temporary signs in their boulevard like they're doing these days?
Thank you, Chair and Commission, for your question. So businesses are actually handled differently. Yeah, so this will become the regulation in the residential zones. There is some overlap with R4, RO, where you could have an office and I guess they could put up a number of temporary hiring signs, but I don't know how to pull that use away from out of a residential area.
Thank you.
Are there restrictions on political signs for businesses then?
Thank you, Chair and Commission. So I just believe that we can probably get away with the aggregation of signs there. And that a total amount of signage that, because it's a much higher amount that they can sort of work with. I think we're less likely to come into conflict there.
Any further questions for staff? All right, seeing none, thank you. Appreciate all of your work on this.
Thank you, Chair and Commission.
All right, given that we do not have an applicant, we will now open up a public comment portion of the hearing. If you're interested in providing comment tonight, please, let's start with the room. I think we have some folks online, but we'll start in the room. So if you would please come up and state your name for the record and also your affiliation, if any.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Chair and Commission. Thank you guys for your time. Obviously, this has been a work in progress, right? And a long journey. I just have a couple of clarifications is all. My name is Kelly Strobe. I'm with Lamar Advertising. And I just wanted to confirm that are billboards the only ones that need to be permitted? Are on-premise signs also permitted as well through this process?
Through the billboard?
Well, yeah, I just do the whole rewrite. I mean, is there on-premise signs that are also having to do the annual permit fees, or is it just strictly billboards?
I appreciate the question. I believe where we landed was the off-premise billboard signs would require the
whole permit?
Yeah,
Okay.
the permit and that process, and that other on-premise signs would be taken care of as part of a business licensing every year.
Okay. And then and then also, what's the difference between the permit and a business license? I mean, are there one of the same? Are they two of the same? I mean, do we pay a business? I'm just saying, would it be easier to pay an annual business permit versus billboard permits? I don't know. I'm not trying to make decisions. I'm just asking questions, right? So I'm just trying to understand, understand a little bit.
I don't know that the zoning commission can respond to that. Michael, do you have an answer for that question?
probably could handle this particular permitting process with business permits by amending the business permits. I think in general for ease of use, if people are looking for signage regulations, just having how billboards are handled and where to find that permitted information in the signage chapter makes the most sense.
Okay. Because I'm sure, and I'm just trying to be devil's advocate here to understand all this, because once we apply for a permit, we pay the permit fee. So these have already been paid. And I understand this is a whole new rewrite. So to pay these again, I'm just curious on what the most simplest way to do it is. Because I mean, because I mean, it's going to cost a lot of money. And I'm just using an example. Let's just say ours is 3,500 because we're going to have to pay the majority of it, right? Because we've got probably 90% of the billboards in town within the city limits. So if that number's $3,500, are you hiring somebody for $3,500 to just maintain the website to make sure that they've been paid annually? I'm just trying to understand where the funds are going. And I know I know they go into the general fund, but how are they allocated against the program? I mean, I'm just trying to understand where the permit fees are actually going. If they're dumping into a general fund, what does that general fund distribute? I guess I'm trying to understand where they go to. Because I would think that if we pay for a permit for the billboards, it has to be allocated to somewhere, no?
I think so for the purpose of the hearing tonight, the zoning commission is just considering the sign ordinance and not necessarily what the city decides to charge as a permit fee and then where those fees end up going.
No?
I
Okay,
do hear your concern and I would encourage you to reach out to either Michael or someone within community development at the
Okay.
city to get that clarification before the city commission hearing in
okay,
July.
okay.
And please do reflect all of your concerns for the
Yeah,
record
I
in
mean,
this
it is
hearing.
what it is, right? I'm just trying to understand it is all. I'm not trying to be the thorn, the thorn. I'm just trying to understand what, couple of things, obviously where it's coming from. Obviously, we'd much rather just pay a higher permit fee than an annual fee. Because like I say, if you charge $3.50 per square foot, 2 signs covers the entire cost of an annual permit fee. You know, I mean, depending on what you're doing, you know, how you're, and I don't know what I understand you're trying to generate money from these, which is fine. But I don't know if what the right way is, what the wrong way is. You know, I don't know what that is. So, okay, I'll shoot an email to just as a concern and stuff like that. Just clarification on just a couple of sections. On page, sorry, I just have page 19. I can't see. Under H, I think it is. I can't see very well. Yeah, I think it's H. It just says any electronic message center that is located with 300 feet of any residential use must automatically turn off between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 p.m. daily unless business is operating under or during these hours. So is that referred to as on premise? I'm just trying to understand. Is that on premise directed?
Michael, it looks like you have an answer.
The intention of that one, as I remember, it was for on premise.
I thought it was as well. So I'm just confirming. Yeah, I was thinking that it was as well. Thank you.
Just to clarify, you technically said 6 p.m. when you read that, but it actually says 6 a.m.
Can't see. Thank you.
So it's 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., which is a very important distinction.
100%. No, 100%.
Because 6 p.m. would be very, very obtrusive.
No, understand. Thank you. And then on the non-conforming side, which is on page 20, letter E. I don't understand it. If somebody could just at least explain it. It's the 50%. A non-conforming sign shall cease to be in use to, when the business activity or use on which it is located is enlarged by more than 50% of either the original lot area or the building area lot coverage in place at the time the sign was installed. So I don't understand that.
Michael, will you help clarify?
That was again, supposed to be, for on-premise. Essentially a trigger for if they're doing such extensive remodelings or if they are, doing a significant boundary line relocation,
Okay,
they would need to update their sign to conform,
okay,
just,
okay,
just to make that clear.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
And I apologize, I could, the page number again,
Oh,
20.
oh, I'm 20, sorry. I think that's all I had except. There's a section in here in regards to the city commission may choose to auction off or destroy a forfeited billboard permit. Is that just an abandoned or deserted one in general? Like, I guess I'm looking at it as if Lamar has, let's say, 3 sign permits, right? Or credits, I'll call them. And Lamar goes away. Do those 3 credits just dissolve? Or are those 3 credits or 2 credits, however many are there, is that the option of getting, is that what's getting auctioned off?
Do you have a page number for that?
Yeah, let me,
33.
how many?
Page 33, section C. I don't see it.
No, it's 34C10.
To be clear, it says the city commission may choose to auction off or destroy a forfeited BBP pending a public hearing.
Okay, are those just, I guess, are those credit? I don't understand what those are. I mean, I guess the forfeited ones. Are those just considered the credits?
I think so. I believe so. I believe the credits are the same thing as the billboard permit. Is that correct?
I would agree, yeah.
There are a certain number of credits or billboard permits. that
Okay,
are
and but
available.
are those for, and again, like for myself, like if Lamar has 5, let's say, right? Are they only available to be auctioned off? Like if Lamar just goes, like leaves, like, I guess, just gets sold, or the company goes away? Or, because I guess what I'm asked, I guess I don't know how to clarify it. Maybe commission just can't auction off the credits by themselves without, we at least own them until we either use them or we forfeit them.
That's my understanding. It does say
Okay,
a forfeited billboard permit.
okay,
And above that in 8, it describes the conditions of a forfeit.
okay. Okay. Thank you. And I thought, my very last question, I apologize. In 35A, the interstate corridor, which was in here, was 432. Did that get changed to 432, or were we gonna move that to what the feds or the MDOT's interstate corridor, not in the city limits, but in the interstate corridor. I couldn't remember if that and the only reason I say that is because the 432 is an odd size. It's like a 12 by 48, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, I'm sorry, it's a 12 by 36. It's a 12 by 36 size. And then the federal and the MDOTs is a 672. And I didn't know if we changed that. If that was supposed to be 672 versus 432.
My recollection is that in town, we did want it to be slightly smaller. I don't remember why we landed on this specific number. I think we were trying to go.
Yeah,
a
in town
certain
is
size.
250. I think in town, I believe is 250. This is just strictly interstate corridor.
But only in town.
Oh,
So this
in
is
the-
only
in-
for
in
in
with
the
the
city
limits.
limits.
I
Yep.
see what you're saying. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. That's all I had. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. Are there other comments in the room? And please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Allie Carly, Lamar Advertising. Thank you so much for having us this evening, Commission. We appreciate it. We appreciate the process of going through this and learning and working with you. We still slightly disagree on the permit side of things, and we would obviously like to, I guess, stay in accordance with most of the other ordinances around the state of Montana specifically and not pay an annual permit fee. We would like to look at something more reasonable like the MDOT does with maybe a 3-year if that's the case. And I get what you guys are doing and we can understand that it's not the end of the world, but we certainly don't want that and don't want to see that go through. So we're going to certainly come here and give our opinion and input as we can. So we appreciate the time. We work with a lot of different businesses in the community, whether it's for profit or nonprofit, and we want to continue to do so. And so we appreciate the opportunity. And again, I guess what Kelly kind of brought up were just some clarification points because maybe it doesn't seem crystal clear in the code and there could be room for interpretation someday by not putting on or off premise in certain areas. And that's just what we're seeing in reading through it. And so if we're trying to make things crystal clear for everybody involved, if we're seeing this, other people might as well. So we wanted to bring that up and ask those questions today to make sure that it's crystal clear with all the effort and work that you guys are putting into for this. So that way we all understand the code and can move forward together on it. Again, appreciate the time and all the effort that you guys have put into this. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have no one else in the room. April, do we have folks online?
We have Jeff Young. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hello, I'm on the phone today. How are you all doing? Thanks for allowing me to speak. Michael, quick question for you. The curfew, the 11 to 6, does that relate on-premise? Does that relate to electronic signs or does it relate to electronic and all other signs?
Mr. Young, this is Chair Harbage, and I'm just looking at that on page 19. It appears that that is electronic message centers, specifically those that are located within 300 feet of any residential use.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Really appreciate it. I want to thank the Planning Commission for taking time to talk to us and hear our concerns. And we, in many ways, feel like you have been sympathetic to the needs of the local business community. We appreciate the flexibility on the sizing. You got us scared there for a minute with the 8%. We're so glad it's 15. Thank you for that, and we appreciate all the dialogue on that. And we also appreciate all the consideration in all the other areas, including the hold times and that kind of thing. I think as we move to the city council with this, the lightning rod is going to be the curfew issue, just because there are so many businesses that keep their signs lit more than you might imagine overnight for all the reasons. Those eyes on those signs are impressions, and those impressions are worth, as we know, in the digital world, those impressions are worth quite a bit, and they're rather valuable. And the other thing I would challenge the Planning Commission to do, when we start talking about signs and thinking about signs, thinking how bright electronics are, our brains, just the way our biases work, we turn our attention to signs and signs only. I would ask you with a very open mind to keep your eyes on the headlights on cars. I mentioned that before in a series of meetings, but if you just squint and take a deep breath and look back and say, where is all this light coming from? I think you're going to notice that signs, and in particular electronic signs, are not as bright as you might think. And in contrast to that, I just reemphasize the value that comes to the local business community by use of this very important advertising mechanism. And with that, I'll conclude my remarks with thanks for all of your attention to and work on this ordinance.
Thank you. April, do we have other public comments online?
I have no other hands raised at this time.
Okay. One last call. If you are online and you would like to comment, please raise your hand.
We have James Carpenter. Go ahead, James.
Oh, hi. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. James Carpentier here on behalf of the Northwest Sign Council and International Sign Association, representing the on-premise sign industry. And I just wanted to reiterate a little bit what Jeff said. We really appreciate the efforts and the inclusion of a number of our recommendations and the job well done by the commission and Michael on something that is very challenging and very complex, as you have all learned for sure. And I think, you know, we need to really take a close look at the 300-foot thing that in relation to the curfew, as far as, you know, how impactful that would be, because it in reality, the way electronic message centers work with the brightness standards that you have proposed, they're really no brighter, and in some cases even less bright than a static sign. So we do question the need for that for sure. And I think that it's something that, you know, we really need to understand exactly what that is going to do to those businesses that do rely on that technology. And with that said, you know, we once again, I just want to thank everyone for all your efforts and time on this project, because it's been a big undertaking, and we appreciate all your work. And with that, thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments online?
So the only other two attendees we have online are from the city attorney's staff.
Okay. All right. And we have no one else who has joined us in the room. So with that, we will close the public portion of the hearing, and we'll move on to any final questions or considerations from the commission. Go ahead.
Michael, I've got a question on that last question on page 19 on the curfew. Do you have a sense of how many signs there are that are that close to residential uses? Is that a big pool of signs, or is that relatively small?
Thank you, Chair and Commission. I would want to double check, but I would want to take a closer look at the East Lindale corridor, or I'm sorry, the just basically everywhere on Highway 12, actually.
And I think that would probably be information worth having in hand for the city commission meeting, if that's going to be one of the concerns that is going to come up here.
Thank you. Noted.
I have a follow-up question to that. So we on the page just before that, we talk about sign illumination in residential districts. And then this H refers to buffer from residential use. Seems like that may be challenging for a business owner to know whether they are within 300 feet of a residential use versus a district.
Thank you, Chair and Commission. Yes, that would that would be difficult to calculate.
Are there other questions or considerations?
I do have another question. Will it be, do you see it as when we have Lamar as the single largest by far billboard operator and they need to apply for these permits, I could see why doing, I mean, what's the number? Hundreds of these pieces of paper to get the permits for each of their signs might be irritating. Is it going to be possible to have a bundled version under these regulations?
Thank you, Chair and Commission. I don't see why not. We can probably work that out.
Any other questions from staff or from commission for staff?
To your last question, Chair, did we want to recommend a change to either use or district to make
I think we should.
that consistent if we're making a proposal for what the language will look like in front of the commission?
I think based on Michael's response, I think we should include that in any motion.
So would that turn residential use in H to residential?
District.
Well, they
I-
are two different things, I guess.
Chair and Commission, I don't mean to
Okay.
overstep, but
Mhm.
if you don't mind, I can take a shot at writing this out for you. Condition.
Sure. Thank you.
Should we also add the on-premise specification to those two locations? Because it isn't underneath an on-premise header. It's kind of mixed in, so I
Sorry.
see where the confusion is.
And
the
also 1123 7E, which was brought up in public comment. I do think adding on-premise to that one would make sense.
20.
That one and also the okay, those two. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Is there a motion? I guess we can pause while Michael types up some conditions. I guess while we wait, I can make a few comments for the record just about the work that has gone into this, what is before us tonight, regardless of what the outcome is tonight. We have had numerous work sessions over about a year-long process. I really do want to thank all of the folks from the sign industry. You provided us with some expertise that we did not have when we started, so I really appreciate your time and dedication. We also received feedback from members of the community who weighed in on things like aesthetics and lighting. So really appreciate everyone who paid attention to this. I know sign ordinances might not always seem like the most exciting topic. I do think, this was a thoughtful and very intentional process. It's not every day we get to just repeal and replace an entire section of code. So I think it's a pretty big deal that we've gotten it to this point. I do appreciate everything that Michael said earlier about the intent behind what we're working on tonight related to content neutrality of signs, addressing some of the common variances. I think, it always comes to the zoning commission's attention when there are things that are always granted a variance by the Board of Adjustments. Maybe those are regulatorily burdensome and unnecessarily so. So can we fix those issues and reduce the number of variances that are needed? I also think we've done a lot to simplify and clarify our entire ordinance and then align it with current city goals, as Michael mentioned. And I would just say, top of mind when we started this conversation, we were looking at supporting businesses and economic vitality, also allowing for public service messaging through signs, we know exist across the community. And then just taking into account the aesthetics, landscape features, our big sky, dark sky, all of that was really rolled up into this entire process. And so also thank you to the zoning commission for like sitting through lots of work sessions on this particular project.
I concur in everything that the chair just said.
Just another minute.
Will we be able to have somebody at this commission meeting? Can't remember which day it
That
is.
is a good question. I believe the hearing is on July 15th. If we do, I guess, regardless of whether we recommend approval, this will go before the city commission. I should be able to attend. If others are able to attend, I would certainly appreciate any perspectives.
Okay. I should be around.
April, would you put my screen on? Thank you.
All right, we have revised motion language before us. Is there a motion?
I'll move. I move to vote to recommend approval of an ordinance revising the regulation of signs by amending chapter 23, title 11 of the Helena City Code by repealing and replacing chapter 23, general sign regulations in its entirety and adopting this new chapter 23 sign regulations in lieu thereof, with the condition that the area of allowable wall signage in section 11-23-9 be changed from 8% to 15%. Additionally, the further condition that section 11-23-6H be amended to read any on-premise electronic message centers that is located within 300 feet of any residential zoning district must automatically turn off between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. daily unless the business is operating during these hours. And the further condition that section 11-23-7E be amended to read a non-conforming on-premise sign shall cease to be used when the business activity and so on.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I feel like we have discussed this at length and I have nothing more to say. Good job, everyone.
I do think I'll reiterate what Kim said. It is really important for the city commission to understand the quantity of on-premise signs that are 300 feet from a residential zoning district when reviewing with the city commission. So we want to make sure that's done.
Any other discussion? Okay, all right. Well, thank you all very much. This was a good process and I appreciate the input. Yep, we will. Yeah. Yeah, no, close. With that, there's no further discussion. This has been discussed over the course of many work sessions. We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. Thanks to those who are attending in person and online. We appreciate your comments and the hearing will be before the City Commission on July 15th. That closes the hearing on the sign ordinance. And we will move on down the agenda to our general public comment. Does anyone present tonight wish to comment on any item that is within the purview of the zoning commission but may not be on the agenda this evening?
We have no hands raised online.
Okay, and no one in the room who wishes to comment. All right, moving down the agenda, any member communications or proposals for the next agenda? There's nothing on the agenda under this, but anything to add? No. Okay, any announcements? We do have, it looks like a scheduled zoning commission hearing for Tuesday, July 9th. That will be our next meeting.
As far as I know, we don't have any business to bring forward. Michael? I know we have some applications that are being actively worked on, but I don't believe anything is going to be ready to come before you all for a recommendation.
There is a CUP and zone change that are running together, similar to what you did. I mean, totally different use and location, but similar to what you did with the former synagogue.
And those may be ready for July, but may not.
It's still undergoing city review, but
Okay.
they can still hit that date.
Okay.
We will need to advertise next Saturday, so you'll know by next week.
Okay. And then,
And if there is a meeting on July 9th, at least right now, I am not supposed to be here.
Okay, we do have an alternate for the board. And as long as we have 3 members present, we can do business. It's not ideal, but we can. So I know it's a hard time of the year, with the 4th and everything. So, hopefully we'll be able to take a month off. But we'll see.
and then just as a reminder, City Commission hearing on the sign ordinance that we recommended tonight will be on July 15th. With that, we have reached the end of our agenda and we are officially adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good evening.